Welcome. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. My name is Angela Russo. I'm the museum manager of the Augusta Jewish Museum. This marker dedication is incredibly honorable for us. We're so happy to be able to unveil it to you today. After we go through the run of show here, we will immediately go over for the unveiling of the marker itself. I first want to start by thanking our board. They've been incredibly supportive throughout this entire process, from education programming to the exhibits, curation, and our president, Jack, who will say a few things to you later today. I want to especially thank all of our volunteers who have been with us, who work on different programs. I want to thank everyone who contributed to the program, from the Gertrude Herbert, who let us do our rain location here, which is really awesome. Anyone who contributed to the research. I want to thank Eric Montgomery from Historic Augusta. I wanted to thank Jan Reeves, who's our lead researcher in this project. I want to thank Robin Lindbergh Dudley, who led the project originally. We originally applied once in a grant cycle for the marker dedication that we didn't get, so we were happy to apply again. It really started us in the project to be able to apply. Most of all, I want to thank the Georgia Historical Society. They work to educate across the state of Georgia different historical properties. You'll hear about that here shortly. They educate on different historically relevant properties and work to preserve those. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. So thank you so much for coming out, even though the weather was a little unexpected and now it's a little humid, but we're all together and I'm very grateful that you all could be here. I wanted to invite up Brianna James, who's the Historic Marker and Program Associate for the Georgia Historical Society. If you have any questions towards the end, I know she'd be more than happy to talk to you about the process of the marker. So, Brianna.
Well, as Angela mentioned, I am Brianna James. I'm the Historical Marker and Program Associate at the Georgia Historical Society, and it's exciting to be here with you all today to dedicate the Congregation Children of Israel Synagogue, the newest addition to Georgia's Historical Marker Program. Before I dive in, I want to express my gratitude for the hard work and the support that's got us here today. I worked closely with Angela Russo, museum manager at the Augusta Jewish Museum, who served as my counterpart throughout this process. It's been a long one, but it's really great to be here at the end, and I appreciate all your help. I'd also like to extend my appreciation in general to the Augusta Jewish Museum as a whole for their support of the Marker Project. To the board, volunteers, supporters in general, thank you for your hand in making today possible. And also thank you to my fellow speakers, as well as any elected officials and all the community members in attendance today. It's really great to have you. It makes today even more special. To me, the Georgia Historical Marker Program embodies the Georgia Historical Society's mission to collect, examine, and teach Georgia and American history. What makes the Marker Program unique is that it requires community collaboration, and what makes the Marker Program a success is the applications and support we receive from local sponsors, leaders, and communities like yours. Our institution, like the Augusta Jewish Museum, stands in a special position between academics and the public, making accessible the history that's being continuously researched and written on a day-to-day basis. Historical markers share that scholarship in bite-sized pieces in an accessible way, and anyone and everyone who can simply walk up to a historical marker and learn more about the people, the place, and the event that makes that spot significant. This spot right across the street, starting this afternoon, history becomes a little bit more real, not only for Georgians, but for anyone who visits the city of Augusta. This congregation's and the synagogue story itself is a reminder of our state's rich and complex history. When we study the past, really, we're looking at how the world today was created. Armed with that knowledge, we can create a better world. The story of Augusta's first and longest active Jewish congregation reflects the centuries-long story of Jewish immigration to the United States. Like many others of their faith, this congregation navigated challenges in a new country, making choices about how they practiced among such diversity and finding homes for their congregation to be able to worship and gather. Today, the Congregation Children of Israel Synagogue Historical Marker joins over 2,100 historical markers across the state that make up the Georgia Historical Marker Program. This marker specifically helps to share such a significant part of our shared past as Georgians and as Americans. I would be remiss before I close out to not mention that we rely on everyone to help us and our vital mission. So if you'd like, I invite you to continue to help us grow the Georgia Historical Marker Program, whether it's being part of the application process, sponsorship, or even by letting us know when you see one that could use some TLC. Before I close out, I'd just like to say that historical markers like this one offer us an important opportunity to tell the stories of our shared past and ensure that our state's past is not forgotten. I'm honored to be here with you all today to reflect on that past, commemorate it in a special way together, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiona. And as Brianna was touching on, like the history of CCI, I would like to call on Michael Sharp, who's the CCI Board Secretary.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, friends and honored guests. My name is Michael Sharp. I'm currently the spiritual lay leader at CCI, and I also serve as secretary on our exec board. I am honored and pleased to speak to you today on behalf of Congregation Children of Israel, known locally as CCI. We are currently located in West Augusta on Walton Way, but the Telfair St temple across the street was our home from 1870 through 1950, a total of 80 years. In 2015, the City of Augusta was planning to demolish the vacant Telfair Street building along with the adjacent Court of the Ordinary. A group of concerned citizens met to formulate a plan to save the buildings from the wrecking ball. Chief among the persons on that committee was Augusta attorney and CCI member Jack Steinberg of blessed memory. Their diligence and tireless efforts succeeded in the establishment of the Augusta Jewish Museum. The Augusta Jewish Museum includes exhibits beyond just the chronicling of CCI history. But since the column magnificent Telfair Street temple structure was home to our congregation, I've been asked and am pleased to briefly speak of the history of Congregation Children of Israel as relates to prominent congregants, both past and present. I'm only going to go back as far as the post-World War II era, but if you're interested in our history prior to that time, the aforementioned Mr. Steinberg authored a definitive history of CCI. This booklet is out of print, but several copies are available at CCI for research. First, a disclaimer. I can't possibly cover the contributions to Augusta of all of our members from 1947 to the present, but I will hit a few of the highlights. Rabbi Norman Goldberg was our spiritual leader at CCI for an extended period of time from the late 50s throughout the 1960s. Not only did Rabbi Goldberg lead our congregation in worship, he also for many years served as chaplain at Fort Eisenhower. Rabbi H. Richard White followed in Rabbi Goldberg's footsteps in the 70s by also serving as a chaplain at the fort. Next, a few words about our own Nathan Jollis and his family. He is the namesake of his grandfather, Nathan Jollis. The senior Mr. Jollis served as vice president of CCI, and one of his sons, Isaac, later served as president. His other son, Howard, was our Nathan's father, and Howard served on our board of trustees for many years. My good friend Nathan also proudly served as president of CCI for a term. Other prominent community members over our history include A. Friedman and his wife Betty, David Alloff and his wife Merrill, both former presidents, and Dr. Morton Wittenberg and his wife Boots. Finally, let me take speaker's privilege and talk briefly about my own family. We came to Augusta in 1961. My dad, Dr. Louis Sharp III of blessed memory, had a long history of family involvement at CCI. His great-grandfather, Simon Lesser, was an early president of CCI, and his grandfather, Louis Sharp I, also served a term as president of CCI. My dad's uncle, Edwin Epstein, sang in the CCI choir, and he was secretary of the board of trustees for several terms. My mother, Dot, sang in the choir for many years, and she also was a longtime member of our sisterhood. My dad taught in our religious school for many years, and he also served as president of CCI. My dad dedicated a great deal of his time and philanthropy to the service of CCI. In closing, please allow me to thank you all for joining us again on this historic occasion.
Good afternoon. I'm Eric Montgomery. I moved to Augusta in the fall of 1989 to take the position of Executive Director of Historic Augusta Incorporated. Historic Augusta is a nonprofit organization that advocates for the preservation of historic sites and structures in Augusta and Richmond County. Almost from the beginning of my time here, I was often in the Temple building because it had been adapted as offices for the Metropolitan Planning Commission. We work closely with the planning department on matters related to historic preservation. Although it had dropped ceilings, paneling, glued down carpeting, and many partition walls for office spaces, I recognized that the handsome, historic Greek Revival building. I soon learned that it was built as a synagogue in 1869. I often discuss the importance of preserving the building with George Patty, the longtime planning director, who agreed that it should be preserved and restored if local government ever moved out. In 2015, as has been mentioned, such a plan materialized after the new Judicial Center was erected on James Brown Boulevard and the new Internet Technology Building, or the IT building, was being constructed on Green Street. This freed up space in the municipal building for the planning department, and both the old synagogue and the adjacent court of ordinary were considered surplus property. Joining forces with the Jewish community, Historic Augusta negotiated a plan with the city to save both buildings, and the idea of an Augusta Jewish Museum was born. Now, 10 years later, the Augusta Jewish Museum is a reality in the Court of Ordinary building, and a plan is steadily progressing to expand it into the old synagogue. If no one speaks up to save historic buildings, they almost certainly will be lost. But advocacy requires action to ensure that buildings are preserved and find a new to ensure their long-term survival. Thankfully, the Augusta Jewish Museum has met the challenge and both buildings are safe in their hands. Historical markers like the one we will unveil today are important tools to not only tell the story, but to legitimize the time, money, and effort it takes to preserve historic sites. I'm delighted to have been part of this project from its inception, and I'm very pleased to see this well-deserved Georgia historical marker that will proclaim its significance to anyone who passes. Thank you for your participation in these worthy goals and for the betterment of the entire Augusta community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric. So next we had Jan Reeves. I don't know if she was able to make it. So I'm going to talk about Jan's contribution. She was on the research team originally when we first applied. I believe that was in 2021. We didn't get that marker in our first run through. Jan was committed to reapplying. She was saying she would be more than happy to redo it. She's a writer by trade, and she worked on the research from studying Jack Steinberg's book to coming to our office and going through files and records, visiting both the congregations, and going to a few other museums throughout the CSRA. Jan's contribution has been wonderful. I'm sorry she couldn't be here today due to the weather. Next, we have Corey Rogers, who's the director of the Lucy Craft Laney Museum of Black History, to talk about the importance of the marker.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, let me start by congratulating the Augusta Jewish Museum for the successful application for a state historic marker for the Congregation Children of Israel Synagogue. As I'm often fond of saying, Augusta's story is a unique one, and the State Historic Marker Program allows us to tell that unique story. In the past decade alone, through the Georgia Historical Society Historic Marker Program, we have placed signage in Richmond County that highlights many extraordinary individuals, events, and organizations. Just in the immediate 2-block radius of our soon-to-be unveiled marker, there is a marker dedicated to the 1970 Augusta riot, the largest uprising in the South during the modern civil rights movement. Going down Telfair as you cross 5th, there's another marker dedicated to Amanda America Dixon Toomer, considered to be the richest African-American woman of the late 19th century. Still crossing over Walker Street, another marker dedicated to the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association that tells the unique story of coming to Augusta and establishing a thriving cultural and business community. There are so many other markers in this general vicinity, as well as all over Richmond County, to tell our story. A story I'm sorry to say this, Brianna, a story that stands above the other 158 counties in Georgia. Yes, I said that. My charge to those in attendance today is for you to continue to support the various cultural institutions in Richmond County. With your support, we can continue to use the Georgia Historical Society as a vehicle to tell the unique story and history of Richmond County. Thank you.
Next, I want you to be told about the future of AJM from our president. Jack has been on the board since its inception.
Thank you all. I'm going to do it with the phone, which is close to now. Paper, if I can find it. I want to thank everyone for coming to this historic dedication. The importance of this marker is it's the next step in fulfilling Jack Steinberg's dream of saving the 1869 Children of Israel Synagogue. It's where his mother and father were married, and he was determined not to have it torn down. His other goal was to educate the importance of Augusta's Jewish contributions since 1802, when the first Jewish person came into Augusta. He came from Charleston as a peddler and came to town, and the history goes to once he got here, he brought more family, et cetera, and developed the Augusta area. The museum is comprised of two buildings. The synagogue will become our cultural center that we're working on today. And the 1860 Court of Ordinary building, which is our education center, houses the museum. If you have not already had a chance to visit the museum, please join us after this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack. So I again wanted to thank you all for being here. I know that kind of sped through that. That was we're all prepared to go. So I am proud to announce the very next exciting portion. We're going to be going over to the museum 525 Telfair to do the actual unveiling of the marker. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
3, 2, 1.
Gorgeous.
Thank you very much.
Got you, Jack.
Thank you very much.
It stayed closed.
For the folks in the back, we're going to go ahead and read it. I'm not going to read the Latin. But it's Georgia Historical Society. It's the Congregation Children of Israel Synagogue. In 1846, Augusta area Jews founded the city's first congregation, B'nai Israel. Later, Congregation Children of Israel, CCI, building its first synagogue here in 1869. Membership reflected Jewish migration to the United States, including Central and Eastern European Jews, seeking to escape persecution to find economic opportunities and social freedoms. CCI was founded as Orthodox, representing traditional values like other congregations across the U.S. between 1860 to 1880, and later adopted the progressive practices of Reform Judaism to serve its diverse congregation. Jewish migration to Augusta increased until the federal 1924 Immigration Act limited Eastern European Jewish immigration. In 1951, CCI moved to a larger synagogue on Walton Way. The city used the original synagogue as offices until 2015. Now preserved, it is the oldest standing synagogue building in Georgia, and it operates as the Augusta Jewish Museum Cultural Center.
Very good.